Mindset Lounge, to a new episode with Raluca, Pricop and
Sally, Mady. Nice to have you here. Thank you for spending your time listening or watching us on YouTube or Spotify. And today is a special day because it's a special episode from the Mindset Lounge for Women's Day. Happy Women's Day,
Happy
Raluca.
Women's Day. Tell me, Sally, do you have a role model, a woman role model?
I have two.
Tell me more.
I really admire Mother Teresa for
Mm,
her charitable work and all the foundations that she set in, and just helping people in general and the kind acts. And so, yeah, I admire her a lot for her work. And also, I like Mel Robbins a lot
mm,
because of the influence she has on people and the desire that she has to changing their lives into the better. I like her work. I like her podcast. I like her talks. Yeah.
nice.
So
How do you
for now,
relate to them?
I think as a coach, now I can relate more, and it explains why maybe I chose that path. I value kindness a lot, and I believe like when you do good, something good happens to you as well. So the
Yeah.
universe is just on your side. And from Mel Robbins, I learn a lot from her style, from her, and it's just a way of improving myself and my style as well. Yeah, she's very inspired. Both of them are very inspiring and allow me to look at the positive in my life more than the negatives, the half full kind of.
Yeah. Today we said we are gonna talk about women. We are gonna talk about how we feel, how we express our feelings, what triggers us, and how can we manage the cocktail of emotions that sometimes feels overwhelming to us.
The joy of that cocktail
Yeah.
that starts from an early age.
Mm,
So yeah, I guess it starts with puberty,
yeah. Yeah.
with all the hormonal changes in girls and the mood changes. They start behaving differently, and that behavior can be translated in many ways. What do you think? I know you don't
Yeah.
have girls, but I'm experiencing that myself now with my
No, I
11
have a
years old.
boy that goes through puberty, then it's pretty much the same. However, with girls and women, it's a bit different because we don't experience just two hormonal changes through our life, like puberty and menopause. No, we experienced a few every month because our body, since we start to menstruate, produces hormones in cycles, getting us ready to get pregnant every month. And it's a cycle that happens every month. We go through a cocktail of emotions, many of them generated by these hormonal changes. And some of us, I wasn't aware of that until I studied more. We are not aware of them many times, and people around us are not aware of what's going on with us. I think raising awareness about these hormonal changes that have a huge impact on our mood is a great way to start. What do you think?
Definitely. And it takes me back to our episode about diversity and accepting the differences, because the way we express those roller coaster emotions is different from each and every one of us. So
Yeah.
we have to communicate them as well as accepting how the person in front of us, the people in our community behave differently. Female people, I mean, behave differently every month. So just some empathy comes with that as well.
This reminds me of something. I don't know if in your country they used to do that, but in my country, when a woman was like angry-ish, the male around her used to say, "Oh, she's approaching her period."
I think even nowadays, that same thing is always been said, isn't it?
Yeah. How do you feel
I
about
feel
this
it's
saying?
insulting.
Mm.
I feel it's very insulting because there's huge lack of knowledge
Exactly.
behind it and zero empathy at all, which can affect the self-esteem and self-confidence of the person.
Not only this, I would go further. I think the men around us can be massively affected by our behavior if they cannot understand it. And that's
Exactly.
one thing I strived to work with my son. Every time I was going through that anger period, I was telling him, however my behavior is going to be for a day or two, please don't take it personal. Understand that the changes in my hormones are affecting my behavior and my overall approach of everything. Everything can be a trigger for me. So if you hear me screaming, I'm not screaming at you. I'm just expressing an emotion that I cannot deal with it on the inside. And one more thing that I always tell my son, once you understand how a woman functions, you're going to be a happy man.
That's a brilliant
And
tip.
I
And I
strongly
think it's
believe it.
great that you start educating your son or the people around you in your own home first. And the schools obviously take a huge part of that. I'm not sure if they focus on how we express those feelings well enough yet.
Yeah.
But like mentoring programs or for both boys and girls, women and men is very essential. It's very
Yeah.
essential to understand because we're part of the community and we have rights. The women have rights and
Yes.
we deserve to be understood because then the inclusion happens and the rich and vibrant community that we talked about in our previous episode in diversity will be a result of that understanding and working together. So I think
Yeah.
it's very essential to have that awareness and education everywhere.
Yeah, it is. It is vital, and unfortunately, I see now in schools and other places, they are more focused on gender identity than in understanding how the human body works and what impact the internal changes have on our behavior, on how we feel, and how this influences everyone around us. I think this would be more important to create that level of understanding of how the human body works, basically, to start with, let's say.
Because that will also reduce the maybe traumas and violence.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, I can imagine me screaming in my kitchen and my son being traumatized by my behavior instead, But I preferred and I chose to talk to him, to teach him the changes, the biological changes that are happening that trigger a behavior. And with this level of understanding, when he's heard me screaming in my kitchen, he laughed because he knew mom is experiencing some changes. So instead of creating a trauma, I created awareness. And
Exactly
this
that.
allowed him to avoid being charged with negative feelings.
And his reaction is controlled as well. So
Yeah.
it's a win-win, definitely.
Yeah.
But I want to also mention that it's not only in the girls and boys puberty time that happens. Obviously, we all know pregnancy,
Oh, yeah.
postpartum,
Yeah.
abortion, miscarriages, like all of these menopause, perimenopause,
Oh.
and there's a lot of changes.
Tell
So
me
in your
about it.
opinion, you're an expert there. In your opinion, how, as women now, could we maybe um, share our feelings or share how we feel at work or with colleagues, with the community around us? If you're owning your own business, you have employers, etc., etc. What would you think is a good approach?
I think part of um, expressing our feelings is also set up some boundaries. And I start with boundaries because not everyone can be educated, and we can't really communicate with everyone perfectly. And the reason being is not our inability of communicating, but sometimes the person that we are reaching to has a different understanding, and you might not have enough time to build a certain type of rapport and understand what type of person are you communicating with, so you can send the message in the perfect way or the right way. Make sure that they receive the message that you are sending. So boundaries is an essential thing. If I feel, for example, at the moment, if I feel like something is going on with me, that might be whatever feeling, I can tell the people around me, I need some space. I need 15 minutes to think. That's one way to set a boundary. Depends a lot on who's around us,
Yeah.
actually. I couldn't find my words again as a part of the menopause.
Which takes me to that point exactly. I remember you suffered with just losing some words,
Oh
as you
yeah.
mentioned, when you're talking or thinking about something, and that could be very, very stressful
Oh, it
to
is.
some
It
women,
was
especially at
actually.
work. How do you deal with it?
Now I'm making fun of it, but at the beginning it was quite shocking because when I realized my brain went blank, my first thought was to try to express what I have to say in my mind in Romanian and translate it in English after. And I realized that my Romanian brain was also blank. I realized I had no thoughts, no words. It was just blank, a void. First time was like, okay, yeah, God knows, it was a moment. But when it started to repeat itself, it became scary. I was scared at the beginning. What's going on? I just couldn't. I didn't think, which is really unusual for an overthinker. I am an overthinker, so that moment of silence, I'm not used to that. Now I'm making
And I think
fun of
it's
it like it happened
important.
earlier. So I went out of words and I was like, menopause. Now I make fun of it, but even at work, if it happens, I tell my colleagues, I'm actually showing them, give me a moment. I have a blank moment. Let me come back to myself. So it's another way of maybe setting a boundary.
Letting people know how you feel.
Yeah,
Obviously, you can share as much or as little as you wish when
yeah,
it comes
yeah,
to your feelings and your monthly changes, etc., menopause. But if you think it's helpful, then that works. It
yeah,
seems to be
yeah.
working for you at work.
To be honest, I do prefer to let them know how I feel because it allows me to release a sort of energy, and they can do with that information whatever they feel like. They either can be empathetic and understand me, or they can just acknowledge it and move on. So whatever they do with it, it doesn't bother me. They know. You know what I mean? They know.
And also another trick I've finally worked out in my head is planning according to my energy.
That's a very good one. That's a very good one.
Because I am aware of my energy levels now. And when I know this week, I don't feel myself. I take on tasks that are slightly lighter, like that, something that's not going to drain me mentally, physically, and emotionally. And I call it an early night sometimes, many times. To just look after myself in the process has been a massive help.
Yeah.
Respecting my body. It's like this morning I read an article which was your body is your altar. So it's actually look after it in any way, in
Yeah.
any way that suits each and every one of us. Not because we're women, then it's a standard thing for all of us. It's absolutely not. Understanding ourselves and our bodies is crucial.
Yeah, I would like to add to that. There is something that I always tell my son. I keep bringing him up, apparently. So I keep telling my son, take care of your body, because there are no parts, spare parts to replace. You won't find spare parts. It's not like a car.
Absolutely.
Something breaks and you go to the mechanic and the mechanic will change that part. This is not applicable to our body. And yeah, probably we misunderstood this taking care of our body is not about how we appear on the outside as much as how we are on the inside. And as a nurse, I would say I've seen many people struggling with losing weight to look well. Why not losing weight to feel good, to be healthy? It's not
Do it for
about
yourself.
the looks.
Yeah. Which again takes back to the usual pressure from the community, the culture, the social media that puts a lot of pressure and false expectations and false understandings to whatever we've just been talking to in terms of the look, the hormonal changes and the feelings. So I would say communication, as you did at home and at work, is just essential.
Yeah.
Because by addressing these emotional challenges that we as women face, is just creates a more supportive and inclusive society.
Yeah, I agree.
And the women's mental and emotional well-being is just as priority as anything else.
Yeah,
So
we are
all
going
focus on
through a lot of things due to these cocktails of hormones that are in constant movement. I keep using cocktail as an example. But anyway, we are like a river maybe. Our hormones are constantly moving and moving and moving, and obviously they affect the chemistry in our body. And the chemistry in our body affects the way we feel, and the way we feel affects our behavior. So it's like a circle. Some
and
might
instead
call
of
it
ignoring
vicious.
it,
Yeah.
instead of ignoring it, just be open about it,
Yeah.
and acknowledge it. And I think this is the right approach, in my opinion. Not to ignore it, not to say like what the sentence you said in Romanian, oh, she's approaching her cycle, and just making fun of women. There's a lot of changes that happen that we as women even don't know about.
Yeah, good point.
So we might know few, like 20%, 30% of what's going around. Not everyone is a nurse, not everyone is a medic, not everyone has read books or listened to podcasts around the changes. So just some empathy.
Also for us as women, as you said, you might have a week where when your energy level is not at the best. I think it's a good way to start and analyzing this, raising our awareness about what's going on with us, is to pay attention to how we feel in our body. Again, I'm coming back to our body, and there is a reason here. It's easier to spot a palpitation, which is a heartbeat that you can actually feel. You shouldn't feel your organs. So once you feel physically, what's going on there? Why is my heart pounding in my chest? Why do I have shivers? What's going on? I feel hot all of a sudden. What's going on there? Look at patterns so you can identify triggers. The more awareness you bring on your body, the more insight you're going to get about what's going on with you. And you will start analyzing your emotions easier. Because, for example, I was going to my clinic last year when I opened it. It was something that I was so passionate about. I still am, but that's not the point. And I was driving towards my clinic. All of a sudden, on my way there, I started feel that accelerated heart rate and anxiety. I was like, whoa, I'm going to do something that I like, that I'm passionate about. What's going on with these feelings? Where are they coming from? You know what I realized? It was the same road that I used to take when I was going to work during the pandemic
Mm.
that triggered an emotion.
Emotion.
But if I wouldn't have focused on how I feel on the inside, I wouldn't have realized that it's a pattern that created the feeling, actually. It was something that was really stressful for a long period of time. It wasn't easy.
Was tough. It's great you mentioned that, because that, even with being a woman, man, girl, boy, whatever age, understanding and acknowledging the emotion is crucial to assess your well-being, whether if it's I don't want to call it negative emotion, but if it's a draining emotion or that causes you stress, then it's understanding and acknowledging it, will know the trigger and how to deal with it,
Yeah.
how to stop it happening again in the future. And if it's a happy or a positive emotion, it's equally as important to acknowledge, because that will be a motivating factor in your life, um, something that will keep you going, a win,
Oh, yeah.
celebrate that is worth of a celebration. And you can easily do that by just writing down how you feel in that moment, or record it in any way or another. But any emotion is valuable.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is. And since you mentioned the positive ones, and I like to switch from anxiety and other stuff to positive. For example, for me, I noticed two things. If I'm working on something that involves being creative and I'm not creative, you know what I do? Put my walking boots on and get out. Uh, what I've noticed by doing this is that also my pain level decreases. My mood changes. It's not only about creativity. A walk outside for me brings a lot of positive changes. However, it's one thing that I would like to mention to our audience. Don't expect this level of awareness to happen overnight.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The more you do something, the more aware you become. When you feel your chest pounding, at first you might not even understand what's going on, but following that feeling, it's going to bring you insight in time. It's a process. You don't know from a day to another, oh, this brings me joy or this brings me anxiety. But be aware of your body. Be aware of your body. Notice the patterns, because that's one important aspect as well. I know you like your walks out.
Absolutely
Why
love
don't
them.
you tell me what benefits you have from it? What did you notice?
Um, I like reflecting when I'm walking. It just switches my busy brain so much, and I focus on just evaluating myself in general. Um, I feel it's like usually a break for me. This is honestly my me time. Just taking a walk. We usually walk to school in the morning, and if I have time, I'll take a longer lap going back home, the longer route to home, and it's so energizing. It's very energizing and a great start to start my day. And as you said, if I'm in the weekend, there is no school, obviously, um, just a walk midday is all I need to switch off from the manic in the house sometimes as a mom of two little kids, or if I'm focusing on a piece of paper that I'm writing, and I just can't put any more in. This is all I do. Step aside, energize my brain with more ideas, and carry on.
I think walking is one of the cheapest and most accessible things that we can do, or having a
Absolutely.
cold shower. Obviously, there are many more things that we can do for ourselves, but not having a budget for it is not necessarily an excuse. There are ways to do something for yourself, to get that half an hour, 20 minutes per day without paying for it.
All you need sometimes is a lap around the block, or step outside for fresh air, open the window and smell the fresh air, breathe it in, smell the flowers in your garden or outside in the streets. There's many ways to look after yourself.
Yeah, I would encourage everyone to go back to my idea to look at what makes a change in their body and what's free, what they can do without investing. Not everyone has a budget for it. I do understand that. Unfortunately, many more people nowadays are struggling with the cost of living, not only in the UK, but in many parts of the world. So what's accessible around you that you can take advantage of? A park, a street, maybe a house that you like. Go and look at it. If that makes you feel good, go outside and look at the sky, or just stay in, watch a movie.
Absolutely. How will you celebrate Women's Day, Raluca?
That's a very good question. That's a very good question. To be honest, I'm at the stage where I am praising myself for all the problems that I faced in my life and that I overcome. And also there is another thing that I'm celebrating. The fact that I managed to not only learn from what happened to me and for me, but the fact that I can teach and help people that are in similar situations to deal with this stuff. I read this morning or last night something. Becoming a master is not about learning, it's about being able to teach. And I realized that calling myself a mindset master is not something that happened for no reason. So that's my win for the Women's Day. I'm here to help people, women in particular, and yeah, I'm happy for that. I see my life as being fulfilled when I do this.
I know you've struggled a lot with adapting your life to the changes that happened to your body and the menopause recently. So well done. Congratulations on that achievement. And yeah, as you said, is teaching others. This is what a kind act is and what we've been talking about. So this week, as we celebrate Women's Day as well as Mother's Day, in fact, Happy Mother's Day, Raluca.
Happy Mother's Day to you too.
Um, it's like any other occasion or time. It can be tough for some people. It can be tough remembering a woman in your life, or a mom, or someone you've lost, or for any other reason. So if you know anyone who will be emotionally affected this week, maybe just get in touch with them. Give them a call, a message, or invite them for a walk, a coffee. Doesn't have to be anything expensive or over the budget, but just maybe all they need is someone around. And if you're personally as someone struggling with that, we're here for you. Raluca and I would love to support you wherever you are all along. So just get in touch if you need someone to speak to, celebrate with if you're celebrating alone, and you're all worthy of a celebration, regardless of wherever you are in your life.
Yeah. And also if you wanna do something nice for someone that you can't really speak with. And I'm thinking now of a good friend of mine who goes through some challenges. I like to send her from time to time a text with, I'm thinking about you. Knowing that you're in someone's thoughts, I think it's important. It gives you a sense of worthy.
I think we all like a sense of community, and I don't like loneliness in personally.
We
I
are
like to be
social
surrounded
animals.
by people. Yeah, definitely. Have a lovely week celebrating you as a person, as a human being. Celebrate your achievements, and happy Women's and Mother's Day to everyone.
Happy Women's and Mother's Day to you all, including the men in our lives. Let's not forget about them. They are as important as we are.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, for the men, just celebrate being with us women. Bye from Raluca and Sally and the Mindset Lounge.
Bye for now.